All right, welcome in to Starting Five here on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Thanks for joining. Going to be here every Monday and Wednesday on the channel. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn the notifications on. Also want to tell you about some of the other things, especially Dolphins related, that are on the channel. We have more Dolphins content on the Five Reasons Sports Network than we've ever had before. We've got 2 podcasts, 3 Yards Per Carry, and All Dolphins. We've also got Pulse of Fins Nation every Tuesday night with Lewis Sung. We've got the Inside Leverage show coming up tonight, every Wednesday night. That's at 7:30. We also have the Scouting Combine. That's with Hussam and Eric Smith. And, of course, we have the pregame show and the postgame show, the yard prep and the final yard coming up on Sunday. So a ton of content here on the channel. This particular show will be sponsored by You Break Wheel Fix. But today it's sponsored by Prize Picks. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Get that initial deposit not matched up to $100. They've got a better promo for you now. You put down $5, they give you 50. So $5 at the start, they give you 50. It's a 10-to-1 match. It is legal in the state of Florida. Told you to get in on that Tyreek Hill prop before it went up. It was at 89.5. Now it's at 99.5. Still might want to get in on that one. Who knows? I think 2 is at 262.5. I have to take another look at that. Keeps changing every day. But, of course, you can pair anywhere from 2 to 4 players together. That's called the lineup these days. If you get them all right, you win a lot of money. That's pretty much how this goes. And most people are enjoying the Prize Picks, what they have legal in the state of Florida now, more than they enjoyed what they had before. It was briefly not legal, and they had to bring it back. So check it out, prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. All right, we are now, 4 days away from the Dolphins starting their season. And particularly that this comes on the heels of the way that the Hurricanes started their season. The expectations are pretty high for a good football fall. Typically, in this town of late, the winter sports have saved the market. Certainly the Panthers did their part last year. The Heat, not so much. Typically, it's been the Heat, of course, that have led in terms of being the best team in town. Right now, it looks like the Panthers are the best team in town, or they should be. They're returning their top 6 forwards. And Tarasenko, depends what you consider him, but returning most of their top forwards, their top defensemen, their top goalie, their coach, and many others from a team that won a Stanley Cup. The Heat, of course, in a little bit of limbo right now as we see what ends up happening with Jimmy Butler, who did not get the extension. The Hurricanes get off to a great start, and now you have the Dolphins. And, this is really about one person. Because that's what it always becomes. And, I take a look at what the Dolphins did on defense this offseason. New coordinator, several new starters. Of course, no X anymore. Jalen Ramsey healthy from the start of the season, knock on something. And then you take a look at the linebacker position has been changed somewhat. Jalen Phillips is back. We didn't anticipate he'd be back so soon. Chubb is not back. They draft Chop Robinson to give them another pass rusher. Shaq Barrett they bring in, but then he retires. So a lot of change, and we've been kind of trying to get a feel for what this defense is going to look like, but it should be a little bit more multiple. They do look like they're locked in to what their coordinator wants to do in Weaver this time, whereas Fangio didn't really seem to want to be here. He wanted to go be in Philadelphia for Manny. Manny Chang is our producer, by the way. But I think the defense is going to be pretty good. I mean, I think it's going to be good enough that I actually picked him in fantasy last night. I think one of the issues they're going to have is they lost a playmaker in Van Ginkel who always seemed to be around the ball. They're going to need others to make those kind of game-turning plays. But I think they're going to be more sound than they were last year, and I think they're going to be more motivated than they were last year. And I also thought, honestly, that X was a weak link. I just didn't have it anymore. I think Fuller will be better for them. And so I'm excited to see what they do defensively. But ultimately, it's about the quarterback. I mean, you look at that Kansas City team last year, and I know the defense was much improved. But that offense, the talent level on that offense was not great. I mean, Kelsey is a Hall of Fame player. He's not, at his peak anymore. And the receiver position was atrocious. Now, this year, it looks better, even though they keep losing players to injury, but they brought in a lot more reinforcements. And obviously, they drafted Xavier Worthy. And they should be, and they brought back Schuster. I mean, they should be better. At the receiver position, Kansas City much better. But last year, they were not good, but the quarterback elevated everything. And this year in Buffalo, they're expecting the quarterback to do the same thing, right? Because Diggs was not a factor the last 7-8 games last season, seemed to be unhappy. And now they don't have him, and they've changed the receiver position. It does not look great at the moment. and they're counting on Josh Allen to elevate everything. Well, Tua at this stage is not really being required to elevate everything. Okay, he's the number one player in the league, according to other players, entire kill. He's got Jalen Waddle coming in healthy. They added a tight end in Jonnu Smith, who looks like he's going to give them the best threat at that position that they've had in a long time. The offensive line, I understand. Okay, I'm not comfortable with it either. Now, Greer and McDaniels seem to be. And Greer last year, let's just be straight on this. Like he said, that it was not as big a problem as people thought it was. And he essentially proved to be right. The offensive line was okay last year. Now, I think Tua had a lot to do with that because he gets rid of the ball so quickly. But look, most are like set a team record for touchdowns. Okay. They did enough good things on the offensive line to allow the skilled players to flourish and to have the number one offense for the majority of the season. And so if they're saying that this is the best group they've had, okay. I mean, I thought Robert Hunt was a pretty good player. I thought that was going to be a loss for them. I don't really trust Eichenberg. Again, we'll see where he ends up settling out now that that Brewer appears to be back. But if they say it's the best, okay. All right, let's see. But I do know that their receiver position, at least their top two, is going to be pretty damn good. The third wideout is going to be in flux here because of the injuries that they've had. But they have fortified at the tight end position. They brought Smythe back, who was third in the team in targets last year. Now he doesn't have to be. And so it just keeps coming back to this. I mean, I've defended Tua Tagovailoa since he's come in. I wanted them to pick him at number 5 overall. I didn't even think he'd play his first season. I thought that would be a redshirt season for him. He did play. He played for a coach who didn't want him to play, a coach who constantly beat him down. I saw enough good things early to say, okay, this could be the guy. Then he got opportunities. We saw what he did in certain games, all right? Then we saw the Baltimore game where he led them back pretty much by himself. Okay, he has that ability. That's not something we've seen from other Dolphin quarterbacks over the past, 25 years, okay? But now it's time, essentially, and I hate to say it, it's time to prove it. Not prove that he can be a good quarterback in the NFL, but prove that he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. And by that, I mean a quarterback that doesn't have to necessarily be the driving force to take you to the Super Bowl, but a quarterback you can get to the Super Bowl with. And that means maximizing the resources that he's been given. And that means the biggest thing is winning the big games in December, in January, if necessary on the road, although you got to put yourself in a position where that first game in the playoffs at the very least is not on the road. And it being about more than just numbers. It's got to be about making a play when everything breaks down. It's got to be about some of the things we've seen. Like one of the real positives about Tua, one of the things I like the most is when he throws an interception, his passer rating is through the roof on the next pass, on the next series. He tends to be able to forget, to compartmentalize, okay, to channel in a positive way. But that has to happen against the best teams now. It has to happen against the Kansas Cities. It has to happen inside the division against Buffalo, even though I think the Bills are going to be down this year. I don't think the Jets are going to be as good as other people think they're going to be. I think the Dolphins can win this division with 11 games. I think if they win the division with 11 games and they get a home playoff game, they should be able to win a home playoff game. Like, that is the bar for me. Like, they have to win a playoff game this year. And you'll say, okay, well, Tua was extended and McDaniel was extended, so it's too late. You should have made him prove it this year. Okay, I understand that argument. But the point is, at least for the fan base, okay, it's not enough just to make the playoffs this year. It's just not. It's just not. You're looking at December 30th, 2000, the last time they won a playoff game. The Marlins and Panthers were born. Hey, Cap, how you doing? The Marlins and Panthers were born, okay, after that. And I'm not that word. 1993. I'm sorry. They weren't born after that. But the Marlins and Panthers have won championships after that. I don't know why I said that. The Marlins and Panthers have won championships after that, obviously, right? Okay, Marlins won one in 97, and then one in 2003. The Panthers just won one. The Dolphins haven't won a playoff game. The Heat have won 3 championships. Was it 7 NBA finals at this stage since the Dolphins last won a playoff game? So that is, to me, like, that is the bare minimum this year is get a playoff win. And I understand that the AFC is more challenging than the NFC, no question, okay? Looks a little bit like the East and the West has looked in the NBA for a long time. But this is Probably the best team you're going to have for the Dolphins in this era. There is a time, there is a clock, and they have pushed some things off into the future. And I give great credit to Brandon Shore and others for what they've been able to do to give these extensions out and still put together a very good roster this year. Okay. What appears to be a very good roster. Obviously McDaniel doesn't count against the cap, but Tua does. Tyreek does. They lost Wilkins, but they were, again, able to reshuffle the defense quite a bit. They gave Sealer the extent. I mean, they've been able to give extensions out to a number of different guys, but eventually the bill will come due to some degree. You can manipulate the cap in the NFL more than you can in the NBA, but you can't manipulate it forever. They've got to win in this window. And the issue is if they don't this year, then going into next year, there's going to be a lot of tough decisions about some of the guys that are on this roster. And also, there's going to be some tough decisions about kind of what kind of team you build around Tua that can win big. So what do I want to see from him this year? Again, first thing is I want to see what he does when situation is not set up for him. We've seen that when McDaniel's able to script plays, first drive, first quarter, first drive, third quarter, that the success rate is through the roof. But it's when things can't be scripted later on necessarily, okay? When the game has gotten away from you. When Hill is on the sideline because he's tweaked a hamstring. When Waddle is on the sideline because he tweaked an ankle. When they've lost 2 offensive linemen, okay? When Tua has already been sacked 3 times in the game and is being harassed and chased out of the pocket because they can't handle a certain pass rusher. That's what we got to see from Tua this year to be able to elevate. You look at how many good quarterbacks there are in the AFC. Okay, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow when healthy, Jackson, on and on and on. I'm not saying, again, that Tua has to be more spectacular than those guys. He's not going to do things that Lamar Jackson does in terms of escapability and running for 100 yards in a given game. He's not going to throw the ball with the velocity of, say, a Josh Allen. He's not going to do things that Mahomes does and all that. But what he does well, which is accuracy, timing, anticipation, resilience, okay, those things have to be consistent. There can't be the 1 to 2 throws a game where you're like, where the hell did that come from? They can't afford it. They can't afford it because, again, even though I like what they put together this offseason, I feel pretty comfortable about a lot of the changes on defense. It is a new defense in a lot of ways that they're going to be getting used to early in the season. And offensively, again, they're going to be games that they miss Hill and Waddle because that's the type of receivers that they are. The backfield to me is as good as it's been since they had Ricky and Ronnie. But Mostert's getting a little bit older, and A-Chain showed that he can get dinged up a little bit. So we'll see what Jalen Wright can offer. But my prediction for Tua this season, first thing, can he play 15-plus games again? He played 17 last year. Was one of only a handful of quarterbacks to do that. The brittle tag should be off at this stage, okay? Any quarterback can get hurt. He can get hurt in the second game, the third game. It can happen to anybody. I'm not comfortable with their backup quarterback situation. I've made that very clear. He's got to play at least 15 games for them to have significant success this year. As far as yardage goes, I mean, he should be near the 4,000-yard mark. But to me, it's more about avoiding the bad plays, improvising where necessary, okay? Extending plays where necessary, that's part of it. Making the best of bad situations. And ultimately, okay, it's going to come down to what he does in December and January. Put yourself in position to make those games matter, and then he's got to convert, take him to the next step. I have him as the best quarterback they've had since Marino. Pennington had 1 year that was outstanding. Managing an offense that really probably couldn't go any further than it went. Of course, they couldn't do much in the playoff game. Tannehill, 7 years. 2016 was really his best year, but then he got hurt before he could capitalize on it. We probably saw the best of him they were ever going to see. He looked a little bit better, I guess, in Tennessee. But that 2016 season, I don't know that he would have ever been much better than that. And, of course, they made the playoffs, and then Matt Moore had to sort of clean it up in the playoffs, and that didn't go particularly well. Gus Frerotte had 1 decent year where they went from 3-7 to 9-7, right? Jay Fiedler won a lot of games. I think was better than people gave him credit for. But the 1 year that they really had a chance, which was 2002, He got hurt in Denver when they were 5-1. They went 2-4 without him, so we never really got to see if he could lead a team any further. A team that obviously had a great defense. Tua is the best quarterback and has the best opportunity of anybody since Marino. He needs to take him at least into the second round. The AFC Championship would be nice. All right, check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5 FIVE. Initial deposit of $5. You get 50. I'll be back next Monday. Check out the Inside Leverage show tonight. This one comes in Cap for Life. Then this is my point. Everyone got paid. The window is not 2 years from now. Don't fall for propaganda. The window is closing. Money does not change. It's the AFC East and a first round bye at a minimum. I'm with you, Cap. That's where I'm at. They gotta do it now. 11 wins minimum. Home game in the playoffs minimum. Win a playoff game minimum. Otherwise, the season's a disappointment. Have a good one, everybody.